South Africans are struggling with, there's a lot of things impacting on their life. You've got rising inflation, high interest rates. There's this global issue with wars and banks and things going on. We still have this sort of backlash from COVID. So there's many things happening that are impacting on people's lives on a daily basis. And I'm joined today by Mr. Bertie Nel, who's Head of Financial Advice and Planning at Momentum, to give us a bit of a couple of clues on what that silver lining can be. What can people do proactively from their side to change their situation? Bertie, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for the opportunity of talking to your listeners. As you rightfully pointed out, I think it's most probably one of the most challenging times in the history of South Africa. I mean, I'm a relative around the block person as well, being close to retirement already, but I think we haven't experienced these type of circumstances all at once in a significant time. My father always talked about the Great Depression, but I think we are experiencing it for the first time from all levels, as you rightfully point, not only from an economic, but from a worldwide perspective. I think we're all left in the dark with load shedding also on our thing, and giving in that circumstances, people are already going through a state of emotional wellness where they start questioning, or not questioning, but struggling with these type of topics, and it's got an emotional impact. But I think sometimes neglected is the financial impact it has got on individuals. Whether you at an early age, I mean, I'm sitting with the relative young students or people starting work now, and old age people. And planning is so important. People think that you can actually delay your planning till a later stage. But unfortunately, these events has a significant impact on your planning, and you need to be able to be on top of the game. I mean, rising inflation, rising interest rates, rising cost of living is just putting, and people's salaries is not necessarily increasing at that same level. So the gap between what goods are costing on the outside to keep your head above water and just buy the essentials, together with making ends meet with a 5 or a 4% salary increase, is just getting more challenges. And we can argue about the official inflation rate of 7% being announced by the Reserve Bank. It's outside of their targets, but I think if you're a retirement person, your medical aid funding, etc., is escalating sometimes more of those. I think I must give credit to medical aids in the last couple of years for accommodating these type of increases. But I mean, doesn't matter. Your things at a pharmacy will still keep in track, not necessarily what you're paying on your contributions. But I think it's critical that people need to plan for these, but and have a good outlook on those. Last comment then, I'm also concerned if you look at the debt levels that actually people are, because the gap is getting ever increasing, people are borrowing more in order to just make ends meet, not necessarily to expand or to increase their assets or their values. It's basically going into credit card debt or short-term debt, or just to survive and use those facilities to fund. And I mean, it's scary to see that 77% of your disposable income levels are taken up by debt repayments. And I mean, wow, where do you live from 23% making provision for food prices, etc.? Sorry, I don't want to sketch a doom and gloom picture, but that's the reality of the stress consumers are under at the moment.
Right. And what can people do to, I mean, obviously people need to learn about these things, and they need to upskill themselves, get information, and get that sort of, what avenues are available to people to do that?
Yeah, Chris, I think it's also a very challenging environment. I mean, financial literacy is if you just do a basic survey or questionnaire on the knowledge levels of the average South African on what their levels are. If you start asking them, they all will know the high level of what interest rates are and what. But I think the concerning thing is according to a lot of research, a substantial portion of our South African citizens hasn't even got or haven't got a budget to start off. So how can you manage your own personal affairs if you don't know what your income and expenses would be on a monthly basis? And then with the ever increasing cost, you actually start overspending on the expenses side, which means your income is not necessarily keeping track with us. So I think people need to start getting more informed, more educated, and I don't say all of us need to be economists or financial advisors, but at least understand what a basic budget is. What are you planning for retirement? What are the basic things that's actually impacting your planning at retirement? And it's not only retirement. I mean, you need to plan for education for your kids. You need to plan for certain things that's critical. But planning is so important. And then the other thing is, I think, managing your debt. I mean, you can easily get into, as I said, to a 77% level, but how do you get out of that trap? How do you make provision to alleviate that pressure? And I think the last one is to track your personal expenses. I think people don't even know what I've spent last month, and I mean, we're not preaching the people out there. I mean, in my own budget, you might find that if you look at a certain stage, you found that, but where did this amount of money gone? And then you go back, I dined out, or I bought this, and we don't even think through properly whether we need the stuff. And I think that's a sin of South Africans in general. We tend to first buy and then think the consequences, and I think that's what we should be changing. We see a savings environment that people don't save. They don't make provision for the future. And even in a broader community, I mean, we might sit with a specific sector of the community making provision for these things, but not even adequate. And then you've got a substantial portion of the communities and South Africans that's not even considering all these four things of just starting with a basic plan. And I think that's the important thing. To educate oneself not only on other stuff, on how a cell phone works, but on how your financial budget works.
Fair enough. Yeah, and there's a frightening statistic that one hears fairly often, and that is that, I believe something like less than 6% of South Africans are able to actually retire on an income that is equal or more than that they had just prior to retirement. So their post-retirement income takes a massive dip. Which kind of leads me to the next question as well, in terms of, so who can people talk to as individuals? What is the sort of role of financial advisors, and are people using financial advisors to their full extent?
Yeah, Chris, sorry, I'm just going to deviate. So I just want to,
Sure.
There's stats also available, and in linking to your last comment. I mean, concerning thing is, people between the age of 24, and that's according to recent research being done, only 10% of them makes provision for retirement already.
Wow.
20% already got credit cards debt, and almost 15% got personal loans. I mean, at the age of 24, I didn't even know what a budget or a credit card was. Yeah. But and then as you get closer to retirement, I mean, if I can just look at between the age of 55 and 59, only 52% of these people made provision for retirement. Wow. And 52% of them still got credit card debt. And I mean, that's where your priorities actually need to start changing. And how did people end up in this? And linking to the question you asked, who can you go to? I think it's part of our journey at Momentum is we've got a very strong relationship and the importance of financial planning, and the role a financial advisor can play, or let me call it a trusted financial advisor can play in that space, because you also hear a lot of horror stories like what you hear with medical professionals, people that experience something. So I think it's not a thing that you need to or can go to a person at the spur of a moment and think you start planning. I think it's a trusted relationship that develops over time, and you need to trust. And the role of a financial advisor, or as I say, a trusted or is so critical for guidance. It's not only there to sell you a financial product, it's actually there to, and I see it, and part of my responsibilities with Momentum is to change that environment, not necessarily from a product pushing environment to an advice environment, but bringing the two worlds together, because without the product, you're also not solving the client's issues. But in that space, you need to trust an advisor to guide you through this process, to identify the needs, to prioritize those needs, and constantly reevaluating those needs. I mean, it's not advisable to go to an advisor, get advice, and 10 years later you hope that advice is still sticking, and then you 10 years closer to retirement and you realize, oh, this portfolio didn't perform it should have been, or oh, by my own discipline I took some of those money and I'm worse off now. I think it's critical from a discipline point of view that you partner with somebody that at least know and all the consequences. I think a financial advisor that's worth his money or whatever has need to be knowledgeable. I think the regulatory environment we're currently operating in, the legislation is ever changing. So it's something that I told you 2 years ago might not be relevant today. And I think it's critical that clients need to partner with an advisor and trust that advisor for the advice and stick to that. And I think it's also the responsibility of an advisor to be disciplined and also honor this relationship with clients and not exploit the client for unnecessary reasons. I think I'm very positive about the future of financial planning in this country, in the sense of I think we're moving towards something where a journey with the client is so critical. It's not merely a push of a sales story. But I think that's the role of a financial advisor worth his while, is to actually, like you're going to a doctor on a medical checkup on an annual basis, you need to go to your advisor to check your financial affairs.
Makes absolute sense. And I actually had a fantastic conversation with one of your colleagues recently, Paul Nixon, who heads up the behavioral finance side of things. And we were talking about where people are getting their advice. And I'm talking especially the sort of younger generation, your Gen Zs, are looking at TikTok, advice from people on TikTok and places like that. And it's the most ridiculous thing because, there's no background, there's no checks and balances in there. So it's really important that you speak to the right people that are professionals that know what they're doing. So fascinating topic. But Bertie, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And it's not just doom and gloom. I think there is certainly a couple of things that a person can do from your side as well, and just be positive and tackle things with the right attitude, for sure. Bertie, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it, and we'll certainly chat again in the future. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity, and have a good day.
My pleasure. Take care. We'll chat soon.